just a relative, a close friend, or whatever. Just spending time with people, taking the time to spend time, putting forth the effort says a lot about how you feel about that person and the significance of them and their presence in your life. So go ahead and like and share so we can go ahead and get started. So we actually have 2 Facebook Live going, 2 Periscope, and 1 Instagram. So we got it going now. Then plus the one that we'll actually upload. And also know that any of the broadcasts that we do, whether it be this one or the one we do on Wednesday nights, which is our Bible study that we call the Word Plunge, Bible study, which is really Sunday school on a Wednesday night, they are all uploaded to my YouTube channel, and they're all on individual playlists. So you can always go back and see some of the things that you missed or you might find interesting. And it might be that it's not even for you. It might be that you want to share some of this information with someone else that you think it might help them enhance their view on things, or whatever. Just be led and just do what you need to do. We just here because we're doing what we love to do, and we like being able to do it together. Mm-hmm. So
dealing with companionship, that's what one of the keys is. If you've ever experienced being alone, it's not something that you want to continue to be with on a long-term basis, because we were not made to be alone. We were made to be companions with other people, to share with each other. There's no accident, that God talks about it's better to give than to receive, meaning that, it's a joy that comes when you're able to give not just material things, but also give attention, give notice to people, and begin to see the smile on their faces, and recognize the fact that that's exactly what they needed,
Right.
That's even more of a fulfillment. And so even, in relationship, particularly in marriage relationships, there's that tendency, especially for us who have been married for a long period of time, sometimes not have that closeness in the sense of having to deal with children that have left the nest, and then you find yourself, because you're so involved with the children, that you find yourself not really close in terms of doing things together, sharing things together. So it's important to develop those things prior to those children leaving the nest, so that when you look around and see that they have left, and you look at your spouse and she looks at you and you say, "Who are you?"
What do we do now?
Right. So share those things now. Start developing those relationships now. Or renewing those relationships,
right?
So that you won't be, left feeling adrift or, out of place in your marriage or your relationship.
And one of the things that a lot of people are beginning to realize, sometimes the loneliest lonely is being lonely in the middle of a marriage. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of lonely people who are married, and it's our job and responsibility to make sure that we're giving our spouse the attention that they need, the support that they need. And again, like you said, it's better to give than receive. So a lot of times it may happen at a time when you're not really feeling up to it, or you might be in a situation such as I know one of my dear friends is in, where she's having to be a caretaker to her husband. He is very ill, and she's running around doing a lot of things. But we mentioned her situation on a previous session, that she's walking out her vows, in sickness or in health. She's there, and she loves him, and she's taking care of him. But we know it can take a toll on her. So one of the things that you have to really be mindful of, and it's really something that we've been talking about all month, the different stressors and distractions and things that can happen in a marriage that can cause issues and cause problems. You have to make sure that you don't ignore those things. Make sure that you're paying attention to those things. And as believers, asking God, what do I need to do? How can I make this better? I know I have a cousin who's watching from another feed, and right now, even though his son is an adult, but he has been very seriously ill, to the point that, we were praying that he would even be able to live, and now he's going through extensive rehab, and that can take a toll on a marriage, no matter how long you've been married or how short a period of time that you've been married. You have to understand what the stresses are, and you have to start attending to those. And sometimes in a situation like that, you just need to make sure that you're okay. I know we've been through some things. We're in something now that's not quite as serious as what we've been through before, but we have to make sure that we're okay, that we don't get off into our own little corners and just dealing with stuff in our heads, and definitely don't get into the blame game or anything like that. But you got to realize that's how the enemy will come in and have you start blaming yourself or blaming your spouse, or and have you at odds with each other, when really it's when the hard times. Oh, okay, I see you, Linnell. I'll get back to you, your cousin Linnell. Okay. During those hard times, that's when we really supposed to pull together. We got to pull together, because the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have that more abundantly. Well, a lot of times you got to push, press, and fight to have that abundant life. It's not just going to come automatically. And because you are who you are, and because you name the name of Christ, and because you said Jesus is at the center of our marriage, the attack may appear to be, and often is, greater. But a lot of times when I tell people, stuff happens, life happens, situations come up, whether you under the blood of Jesus or not. But I would rather be under the blood of Jesus, dealing with stuff when it happens, than to be trying to handle stuff on my own, figure it out on my own, and taking those blows upside my head without having that shield, without having that protection, without having that anointing, that grace to make it through that situation. So whatever your situation may be that you're in, just know it's not just a cliche. This too shall pass. And this is a temporary thing, but in the big scheme of things, know that even in the midst of the squeeze, even if my marriage is going through a lot of stuff, because life is happening. It could be the finances, the kids, employment issues, illnesses, know that that's the time that I squeeze in and I push in and I make a demand on my covenant with God, and I expect Him to give me the answers, to give me the insight, to give me the grace to endure, because sometimes that's all we need, is the grace to endure.
Last Wednesday in our Bible study, we talked about fighting the good fight of faith. Mm-hmm. And so in other words, here press in terms of your relationship with your significant other. Fight the good fight of faith. To the point where, like you were mentioning, the enemy is going to come and he's going to bring opposition towards you, and that's why we got to press in. That's why we have to have the be on top of our game in terms of our spiritual growth. By making sure that that we are maturing spiritually, mm-hmm. so that we know how to fight against the enemy when he brings things against us, because we're going to have those trials and those tribulations, but God tells us to be of good cheer, that we've overcome this world, this enemy, those oppositions. And so it's important to begin to mend relationship if you feel like those relationships are not have been breaking apart and not really there yet. Because again, we're talking about being by yourself is no fun. And that's what the enemy wants you. He's kind of like we talk about, he comes in, he's like he wants to steal, to kill, and destroy. And how does he do that? He separates us. Mm-hmm. He separates us, using the analogy of a herd. And a lion tries to separate, members of the from the herd, And generally he would separate those who are not paying attention, who are young, who are old, who are not healthy, you know. And once he can do that, you know, so those who are kind of feeling isolated, don't start to, you know, come together with and mend relationships, develop new relationships with people, so that you don't find yourself, you know, being tricked into doing things that you normally wouldn't do, you know. And what I'm saying also is that when you by yourself, the enemy would gnaw at you. You know, he began to say things, so you develop a distorted view of the world, a distorted view of people, so that when it is time to have relationships, you at odds with people for no apparent reason, because of your attitudes and your perception of how people are. You know, so you want to have a healthy attitude. You want to have a developed relationship where you can have humor and be funny. We have it all the time, you know, where
at the most unexpected times you better learn how to laugh.
And that's a part of, you know, developing that relationship where you can laugh at yourself, you know, laugh at things. You know, we make mistakes and we know it. Our partner knows it, so we can just laugh about it instead of frowning and, you know, and say, "Oh, it's me," you know. But you know, there's a point where you know, at our age, and I know that other people are younger, you know, you have to laugh at yourself, some of the things that you do.
And then you realize it really ain't that serious.
It's not that serious.
You know, the things that used to get us upset when we were younger, we wasted a whole lot of time. So that's one reason why even doing, you know, this on a weekly basis, which was just supposed to be for a short period of time, but it is being, you know, in June it'll be a whole year. But we need to learn from other people, those of us who are older, who've been married longer, or those who've been married more than once. You know, don't be embarrassed about, well, I've been married and the first time didn't work, or the second time didn't work. Share your information. Share what you learned. Share what the mishaps, the downfalls were with other people, so they won't fall into the same hole. You know, learn how to be transparent. It's no reflection on us, you know, in a negative sense, if we learn from where we messed up, or how we should have reacted differently. You know, even if we all went through the best premarital counseling courses, even if we did 2-3 year preparation, it's nothing that really prepares you totally for being with another person who is not you, who was raised differently than you were. You know, even if you have the same values and the families had the same types of foundations, it was two different personalities in his house as parents, two different personalities in my house as parents. And then, you know, the things that were had a higher place in a hierarchy in one house may not have been that important in another house. And those are the little things that can bust up a marriage. So where, you know, when we've been talking this month about the distractions and the things that can pull, that's why it's important. You know, we always say, number one, have this relationship, you know, secure, so that this relationship will be secure. You know, you get your horizontal right, so you get your vertical right, so your horizontal will be right. You know, because he's not just my husband, he's my brother in Christ. It's more blessed to give than receive. You know, I need to forgive 70 times 7. You know, you can look at all of that as negative, but what you sow, you know, is what you're gonna reap. And so I need to learn how to look at things a lot differently and understand that because the enemy wants to bust up any marriage that he can, he will try anything and everything. And a lot of times when you look back or from that situation, step back and look at it, you like, really? We got upset about that? But see, when situations arise, when, like things we've talked about, being a caretaker of a parent or a grandparent, or even a child, or having a child with special needs, or, you know, having children who might not make the best decisions, and it's always pulling at your heart, or there are consequences that the whole family has to go through because one family member just decides to do things that are contrary to what the values are, and everybody else is having to deal with it. It can cause you to be at odds with your spouse, or it can cause you, as we said, to you to link arms and say, oh, devil, that the best you can do? Because through thick and thin, we riding this thing out. And because we've been through some things, we don't look like what we've been through. We don't look like what we're in the middle of now. But that's not any kudos to us. It's the grace of God that rests on us. But because we're determined we're gonna ride this thing out together, and it's nothing that's gonna pull us apart, it makes us stronger. Let those trials and let those situations cause you to be stronger. Now, we also said that we want this to also be something that you can relate to as a single person, whether you're in a significant relationship or not. Just dealing with relationships, period. Some of those relationships that have ended, that it wasn't that the season was up or that it was time to part ways. And I'm not talking about necessarily, dating relationships. I mean relationships, period, family, whatever. Step back and look and see what was really going on there. Is there something that I can do to repair that? Lord, show me what I need to do, because we don't need to live the rest of our lives, for instance, as cousins, not talking to each other. Even though his view may be a lot different than my view, Lord, show me how your character can come through me, and we can at least have some sort of relationship, where we relate to each other.
Sometimes people wonder why people don't talk to them or don't say things to them, but the word says that when you give, it will be given unto you. Yes. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So when you smile at people, guess what? A lot of times they'll smile back at you, and even if they don't, God's going to bring somebody in your past where that will smile at you, will say something nice about you, or say something nice to you, because you have given out of yourself, and they see the joy in you. See, because if you're looking for joy, if you're looking for someone to say something positive about you, you need to say something positive about them. And what you're doing is you're planting seeds,
right.
And those seeds are gonna come up,
Right.
So it's not if you plant, orange, well, you're not gonna get grapes. If you plant a frown, you're gonna get frowns. But if you plant smiles, you're gonna get smiles. That's according to the word. So if you want to have that good relationship, then show yourself friendly.
Right.
So if you ain't showing yourself friendly, you can pretty much expect that what you end up doing is you're planting sour seeds. That at some point there's going to be a harvest that comes up.
Right. And since I know many people who are tuned in have children, whether they're grown children or whether their children still at the house, you have to understand that what the enemy does, he chooses to target our hearts, what's going to put on our hearts. And so when that child is acting up, or when that child is in trouble, when that child is going through something, it can cause us to focus on the negative, and instead of asking God, what's the positive thing that I can get out of this? Or it can cause us to get a wedge between us, because he's concerned, I'm concerned, we're handling it in our different ways. I remember when we went through a season where something pretty dramatic had happened with one of our sons, and somebody had misread him as having just shut down altogether. He's not even strong. He just has shut down altogether. Well, I know him. I know that's the way he handles things. He gets quiet. He's not going to talk about it a lot. Me, I might as well be, the news, get on here and put it on the news, because I put it on blast, because that's my way of handling it, and that I would expose the enemy to the right people, not going to do it to the detriment of my kids, but expose the enemy, because that in my makeup, that's resisting the enemy, that he has to flee. And if I expose what he's doing, how he's attacking in certain areas, then the people to whom I've exposed it, they're standing with me in prayer, believing God that we will overcome this, that we'll get the victory, that God will get the glory. But see, we're two different people. I had to learn that just because he wasn't talking about it didn't mean he didn't care. And he had to learn that she ain't gonna be quiet, so I might as well let her talk. and say every once in a while.
So communication is real important. Developing that. When I've had to learn how to open up and talk more.
His ears get so tired. No, don't your ears get tired, boo?
Yeah, really. Because I know that's what you need. You need that. That confirmation. That somebody is listening. And I need that as well. Not recognizing it early on, but I still need that. But I also recognize. Sometimes in terms of our discussion, you're not necessarily looking for answers. You're just looking to talk the issue out. So that and then as we begin to talk things out, a lot of times God will give us that insight, that revelation, and so especially when we have our ears tuned to the Holy Spirit, He's going to give us that insight. So it's up to us to listen. To listen attentively, and God will show us. It may not be in that same hour, but it will be at a time where just when we need it.
Right.
Many times, when we ask God for directions, we ask Him for insight, we ask Him for wisdom. He said He will give it to us liberally. So and He will give it to us even when sometimes when we don't even know what we need. But He'll drop it on us. How many times have you, our listening audience, have misplaced your keys or misplaced something, and you ask God to show you, as simple as that, and He will show you. He will show you exactly where those keys are, or whatever you misplaced, But the point is that if you don't ask Him, He's standing around, He's waiting, He's waiting for us to ask for His help, ask for His assistance. So, in terms of how we communicate with our loved ones or people that we associate with, He'll show us how to interact. He'll show us how to mend those relationships. But many times, we allow pride to come in, and He don't say nothing to me, I ain't gonna say nothing to her. And so you both around there walking around, trying to figure out who gonna give in first.
And it should be. I want to see who's going to reach out first, instead of who's going to give in first. Tonight's session was supposed to be talking about spending more time with our spouses, but it seems like this entire month we've been each session, just other things have been coming up about the things that will distract you or pull you away or take that desire from you for wanting to spend time with your spouse or with that significant person. And so we need to be aware of those things, because some of you are feeling like, I don't love him no more, I'm not interested in her anymore, I'm tired, this is getting old, it's not what I thought it was going to be, I just might as well give up, and what you need to do is step back and look and see what is the real issue, what's the real problem. Because when I went through that, of course, that first 6 months when I thought I said, I'm done, you cute and everything, but I'm tired, because my expectations were not met, expectations that he didn't even know I had, and his expectations weren't being met, but because he's the quiet one, he wasn't talking about it. But in many situations, no matter how long you've been married, a lot of times what's wrong is there's some unmet expectations, but the expectations were never made known, discussed, to see how you're going to work it out. And so one person walking around disappointed, the other one doesn't even know the other one's disappointed, and then it can just wreak all kind of havoc in your marriage. But even later on, that first 6 months, that was those first 2-3 years, they're rough anyway. So they're not rough. They can be trying, right? Because it's an adjustment. But I remember during a time when, dealing with the kids and, dealing with the phone calls about one of them in particular, I was just tired. I was just done. I just felt like he wasn't paying attention to me. I felt like he wasn't listening to me. I felt like and the enemy would twist it to where, you feel like he doesn't care. And so I was just ready to just, I'm tired. I'm just tired. But once we actually, that's right, Linnell, it's a lack of communication. I thought I was communicating because I was saying, but what was I saying? You don't never listen to me. You don't care. You not helping me. You know, you don't care how I feel. So what was I doing? I was accusing him. I was like taking the gun and just aiming, just shooting him down, just shooting him down. Not talking on what you hear us talk about. Those of you who've been tuning in on a regular basis is to talk about how I felt. I should have said I feel neglected, or I feel like I'm doing this by myself, or I feel like, you know, I'm not being heard, or I'm feeling sad or upset or depressed or whatever. I wasn't talking on a feeling level. I was talking on an accusatory level. And when somebody's accusing you, what are you going to do? You're going to put up your little wall.
You're going to be defensive.
Going to be defensive. And it's not going to, it wasn't going to help. So we had to learn how to not let that take place. Now, yes, I'm the talker when it comes to that. But because of his personality and because of him not wanting to deal with confrontation, he would get even more quiet. So how did I read that? Oh, you really don't care. Right? So I was reading it wrong. So what I'm saying is for some of you, whether it's you or somebody that you're helping through a certain situation or a time in their marriage, be mindful of the fact that it could be just simple miscommunication. It could be an area where the enemy needs to be exposed so that what he's really doing and what he's really trying to destroy in that marriage can be uncovered, and the two of you can come together. Make sure that you can come together, you know, between, you know, kids, money, health, being a caretaker, school, the bills, just all kinds of things can cause you to have so many issues going on that it just pokes holes in your marriage. And where on the outside you're looking like you're fine, but on the inside you're just as miserable. Kind of like the example that you hear ministers make a joke about sometimes, about the couple is fighting like cats and dogs on the way to church. But as soon as they get out the car and make it into the church, well, hello, brother so-and-so, hello, so-and-so. Like everything is fine. And nothing is fine. They're hurting on the inside. Anybody have any comments? I'm seeing what some of you are saying. I see, Vivian, you said defensive, just as Willie did. Linnell, I see your comments too. Vicky, I see yours as well. You all give us some feedback and let us know. We're talking about, you know, really, oh yeah, Linnell, and I thought, she said, I have never considered that, being the accuser. And then when you, just with you typing that made me think of ding, 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 ding. Who is Satan? He's the accuser of the brethren. So there are times in our marriages where we're allowing people to get next to us, we think, but really it's the enemy using the situation, and with him being the accuser of the brethren, we've decided we're gonna be weapons in his hand, and we're accusing ourselves. The example we use is like, okay, which one of you, I want all of you to raise your hand, like I can really see you if you raise your hand. Would you stand in front of a mirror with a hammer in your hand and just beat yourself on the head? Bang, 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 bang. Just beat yourself on the head. Just beating yourself up until you're just black and blue, about to knock yourself out. Nobody in their right mind is going to do that, right? Okay. The two of us have become one. If I'm constantly accusing him, bad-mouthing him, mistreating him, guess what? I'm doing that to me. When you start thinking about that, the two of you have become one flesh, you're bound together, you know, even in the spirit realm, then we need to work harder than ever to pull these marriages together. Anybody can just fall out with somebody and just decide it's not worth it. And there are a lot of couples who they never divorce, but they'll live until death do their part, but they don't even have a relationship. They're not happy. I choose not to be that person. What about you?
Exactly. So how do you this kind of leads into what we were wanting to talk about. Developing that communication, but also developing interests, together. What did you like before you got married? What were some of the things that you two, shared together? What are some of your interests? So a process of getting to know your mate, getting to know what she likes or what he likes is important. So that then, when you can begin to surprise them. It's not, once you start doing those things, it's really not a surprise, but you'll see that smile that comes on her face or his face when you do things that that they like to do. If it's something related to going out to dinner, as simple as that, or they going to their favorite place, liking their favorite place where they can get shrimp,
Who might you be talking about? Boo, you talking about me?
Let's go there.
And see, it's funny that you say that though, because we don't go out to eat that much. Right. Why? Because he prefers what I fix at home. So and I get that. That doesn't bother me. But you know what? We're kind of weird.
What's that? How's that?
You know how one of the most important things they say is to make sure you have an intentional date night on a regular basis. And we have admitted we are very guilty. That doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. But I don't think either one of us feel like we're being neglected. But I think it's because when we were dating, we didn't go out on dates much. You were in school and working full time. I was working full time then. I was in school too. Linnell, I see what you're saying. Between the church, the children, and the grandchildren, it's a lot. It takes a toll on us. It takes a toll on, especially, let me stick a pin in what I was about to say, especially as females, as women, the hats that we wear and the way we think, our now this has changed, because when he could see that I was just wearing so many hats, it was nothing for me to come home and he have a big salad ready or something that he's, put together. So I wouldn't have to come in and think about it. But you can be at work as a woman, as a mom and a wife, and you're doing your work, but you're also thinking about all the things you have to do after work. You're thinking about what you have to fix for dinner or what you're going to pull out to pull together for dinner. You're thinking about all of these different things. And so it can wear and tear on us. On the outside, we look fine. But on the inside, we're managing so many different things in our heads. And many times that can cause us to be frustrated and to not understand why they don't understand. But they don't understand because they think one box at a time. But we might have a lot of boxes open. And we'll have to explain the boxes later for those of you who haven't been with us when we've talked about it. And I see your comment too, Vicky, allowing the enemy to use us used to cause division in our marriage. And if all of us are honest, those of us that have had issues in our marriages, because please know that just because we're sitting up here with the marriage journey experience every Monday doesn't mean we have the perfect marriage. It's because we recognize the importance of transparency and sharing and, encouraging people, letting you know that you're not by yourself, you're not the Lone Ranger, you're not the worst spouse on the planet because you're dealing with this, and you're supposed to be saved, but yet you just cussed your spouse out. Something must be wrong with you. No, stuff is happening. You need to know that these stresses are normal and that God has equipped us to be able to deal with it. And just like any other area in our lives where we're asking God for help, we're asking God to help us grow, we're asking God for insight, for answers, He will answer us in this area as well. We have to open that up. Don't take it for granted just because you're a believer, just because he's a Christian, I'm a Christian, and we both love Jesus, we got this thing down pat. No, stuff happens. And your marriage is going to be different from somebody else's marriage, but they're going to be dealing with their own stuff. And then if you're having to deal with a lot, you've dealt with a lot, let me tell you, like I told the group that I go online with on the third Wednesday mornings, the When Mamas Pray group. Okay, you've dealt with a lot, but guess what? Even the people who are looking at you saying, well, you must not have done something right, you shouldn't be having all these problems with your children, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They probably couldn't handle what you've been through. They probably wouldn't be able to make it through what you've been through. God knew you would be able to make it. He didn't cause it to happen, but He knew He had well equipped you to handle it. So my encouragement to you, keep handling it. Let the people keep talking who want to keep talking, keep judging who want to keep judging. You don't worry about them. You just worry about or concentrate on or be open to what God has for you, how He's graced you to make it through that situation. But what I was about to say was, we didn't date a lot. So even when people will say, well, what were the kinds of things that you like to do? What did it take for you to get her? What did it take for you to, keep him interested? We didn't do a lot of that, did we?
Nope.
I mean, I guess people would say, y'all so boring. But we enjoyed each other's company. I enjoyed his quiet demeanor. I don't know what he liked about me. He said he liked my smile. He acted like he thought I was flirting with him when he met me in the cafeteria at Georgia State University. See, he's even getting tickled because he knows he's not telling the truth. But anyway.
Now,
what?
She had one of the, still has, and those who know her and been around and know that she has a great smile. So, that's the first thing that attracted me, to her. She would smile at just about anybody, So when you, like I said earlier, when you want to, she wasn't doing it to get attention, but she did it because that was part of her nature. That was part of her personality. Where she smiled at people and was able to communicate, intelligently, her thoughts.
That was important to him, that the woman be intelligent.
Smiling, you don't want to somebody who you don't want to be around somebody who's sad all the time or looks sad, and you say, are you sad or what's going on? And they tell you nothing going on, but their consciousness, conveys something different. So the smile was the big bang, so to speak.
But I just smiled to say hello, and then you and your friend invited yourselves to come sit down and eat with me.
How many people smile to say hello? You'd be surprised. The women, the number of people, when you say hello, they look at you like you're crazy and walk away.
We were in the line in the cafeteria at Georgia State. I was trying to get my food. I was trying to get my eat on.
Yeah.
My vegetable plate.
You got your look on too. Then. Anyway.
Yeah,
so, we, what we're doing now. That's part of what we, are sharing Mondays and Wednesdays. We just completed a doctoral course, and a part of that was that we were together, talking about issues, talking about things, on a regular basis for a whole year and a half, So that was another part of sharing ideas, and things.
Because the coursework we were taking it online, and most of our courses were the same, but then there were going to be about 3 or 4 courses towards the end that were going to be different. And so we went back and made a change in our course outlines so that we could take the courses together to discuss and bounce things off each other and to learn from each other. And that's one of the things that's we have a couple of lists in front of us, and we will post the links for these in the Marriage Journey Experience group. If you're not in that group, you can join that group. It's an open group, but I think you have to do a request, and then I'll just okay you to be in the group. But one of the things that it says, I think on both the lists that we have in front of us, is one thing it says volunteer together. Spending time together. Spending time together doesn't always have to be the date night, even though I think on both these lists they do list date night. But as I said, we just didn't date like that as far as like going out. We liked to listen to jazz. We liked to, well, like I said, he was in school full time and working full time. And then I was in school and working. So we didn't really, anytime we had downtime, nobody really felt like going anywhere. We just wanted to spend time, just relaxing with each other.
But one of the things that we did need to do is, we still do it, is, when we do go out on dates, we do, we said, even though, we know, just because we're Christian don't mean that we can't enjoy jazz.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We'll go to jazz concerts, we'll go to jazz events, and also we'll listen to music that's in the
60s and early 70s, baby, that real music.
You know, so we'll just sit and do that, you know.
They say he used to cut up at the parties. They said
that's what they say. That's what they say.
They said he and his sister don't let James Brown music come on in the middle of the dance floor. You cut up with that mashed potatoes, couldn't you? I don't know. I'm too young. I don't know. I don't know. Right. Vivian, I'll post the information on that. I don't know. I'm too young.
You're right. Okay.
But anyway, so spend time together doing the things that you like to do. You know, they don't always have to cost money. But we're not even talking about money. Let's just assume money isn't even an issue. But just find things that you like to do. Now, for some people, it really is a big deal and it's really special. You know, to set that particular date, dress up, go out, you know, spend time because you're putting some extra effort into the relationship. One of the things that I read the other day is sit down with your calendar sometimes and make sure that you've got time, you schedule some time, because that's saying that relationship, spending time with each other is important. It's just as important as this work assignment or, you know, taking care of this, taking care of that. If my life is getting so busy, then I need to make sure that I'm prioritizing and letting my spouse know that he's just as important as anything else I have to do. Your cousin said Uncle Junior smile all the time. I told him he just like his daddy. Woo! Sometimes I have to do a double take, Linnell. So, volunteering together is like on one of these lists, and it says this is another twofer: doing good together with your spouse and growing in your marriage in the context of service to the community. What we're doing here is volunteer work, but it's coming out of our bent, our calling, our excitement, our joy. You know, just taking advantage, using the platform that God has given us so that we can reach people, love on all of you at the same time, and I don't like to say airing out dirty laundry, but you definitely are getting to look through a big old window, you know, because we're liable to share just about anything on here with let me tell you why, with no guilt and no shame, because again, you're exposing what the enemy has done or what he's trying to do. I'm not exposing him. He's not exposing me. When people used to come, you know, in the ministry we were a part of before, we were members who worked in the counseling department, in the counseling center. And so one of the first things that we would tell couples when they came in is, nothing you say in here is going to leave this door unless y'all going to, you know, it's not going to be discussed anywhere. But also know that there's nothing that's going to make our jaw drop. And there's nothing that you can say that's going to make me think a certain way about your spouse. You know, because what you're doing is you're exposing what the enemy is doing. And it just happens to be coming through your spouse, or whatever's going on is causing you all to clash. So let's step back and look at the big picture, but be honest and put everything out on the table. Unfortunately, some people just wouldn't tell us everything, so we couldn't really work on it the way we wanted to. But there were others who just put all the stuff out there. And once it was out there, they realized, it's not him, it's not her, it's the enemy. Oh, heck no, this ain't gonna happen. And they would get themselves together and ride off happily into the sunset, so to speak. And so you have to understand that. So you find the right place, the safe place, the place that God will lead you to where you can be able to share something. Don't get up and give it as a testimony in front of the whole church. Everything is not for everybody to hear. Even if it's in a marriage group, everybody might not be needing to hear everything that you might need to be sharing. So be very particular and careful, you know, to share with someone who's going to give you some good wisdom and some good insight and some encouragement. You have to be careful. I can't just go to just anybody, you know, and talk about my husband, because they might start looking at him a different way. And then we go on and made it through whatever the situation was, and they still looking at him some kind of way. Family members. That's why it's very important that you be very careful. There's only a few families that can actually, I want to say, handle it well, or do healthy in a healthy manner.
Take an objective
view.
Healthy point of view.
Cause see, like I could talk to my mama about my marriage, and my mama was gonna be very honest with me, and she was not gonna look at him any differently. Never did. He never knew I was talking to her because mama would see it and give me wisdom. She knew it wasn't Willie. She knew it was the enemy trying to get in and try to wreak havoc in the situation.
That's an important point about talking to people. Be careful about who you talk to. If you talk to someone who's worldly, they're gonna give you the worldly perspective.
Yes.
And so, but if the world is in opposition to God's way of doing things. So it's important that you don't talk to people who are going to give you that worldly opinion. If I was you, well, you ain't them.
Yeah.
And so I would do this and that. But what does God say?
And at the same time, don't get to somebody that's so spiritual they way up there in the clouds and they're not giving you any practical information.
Right.
Life happens, emotions happen, situations happen. There's marital drift often. So I need somebody that's going with some wisdom and some spiritual insight that's going to show me how to navigate myself back to where I need to be. I made the mistake, years ago of sharing with someone that I thought was in a position to help, to share. That person wasn't able to help, and in retrospect, I look back and I say, that person, I think, began to see us in a whole different light, and it just thwarted everything that would have happened, could have happened, because of them being stuck on whatever the situation was at that time. And I never would get any feedback about what I needed to do differently. That's how I would always approach it, is what do I need to do as a wife? What do I need to do? And so one of the things that I often tell people, by example, but also by experience, is ask God, what do I need to do? Because back in the day, early days, when I was, be going to God, well, he this and he that and blah, blah this, blah, blah that. And finally God said, what about you? Man, you talk about sticking a pin in it. That stuck a pin in me complaining about him. And I would go to God, and God would have to show me the things in me that needed to change. And as I began to change, and as I began to be more prayerful and more open and more spirit-led, then it caused some changes in our relationship. I can't even say it caused changes in him. It caused changes in our relationship, right?
Yeah. It caused, inevitably, I'm going to change, my perspective as well, but, we're going to go back to the fact that it is difficult to find people to talk to from that point of view, from a spiritual point of view in terms of how to deal with certain situations, particularly in marriage. That's why it's important to know who you're talking to,
Yes.
Know that they the character of the person, and if you have doubts about their character, don't talk to that person, because what they end up doing is letting your business out in the street, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
People don't necessarily like to talk to counselors. I understand that, but counselors have to abide by that restriction in terms of they not talking about your business in public. They're obligated. They've been mandated to do that. Or your spiritual person. Sometimes a minister. Let's face it, folks. There are some ministers that I wouldn't talk to about my issues, okay, because of their character, the way they present themselves, So what I'm saying to you is that because God's going to put it, there's going to be a tug in your spirit where you have a sense about who this person is, and that you can divulge, information that's going that's private, and they're not going to share it with somebody else or talk about it or laugh at it or whatever. So, that's why it's important to have that relationship with God, so that when the Holy Spirit tells you, no, don't say nothing to him or don't say nothing to her, to be able to do that, unless you're going, like I say, into going to someone who is a professional counselor. Our current pastors, they have put it out in public that they've actually gone to counseling.
They say everybody in our family had to go to camp.
So there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes because when you are outside the relationship, you can able to see things that other people in the relationship can't see. Because they're too involved and they're too close to it. It's kind of like I use this analogy of if I'm in front of a tree, I can see that tree, but I can't see the forest because I'm so close to the tree. But if I back away, I can begin to see the forest, meaning that I can see what other issues are going on within that relationship when I begin to separate myself from that relationship. But if I'm so close to it, I can't see because I'm involved in it. I'm interacting with the thing that I'm looking at. So it's important to sometimes get that outside perspective, from people.
And if you have been in a situation where you went and you confided in, sought help from a source that should have been trustworthy and wasn't, oh well, they weren't. Don't go back. Go somewhere else. We just have to learn from it because people are people no matter what title they wear. And even when it's a situation where that the rules and the regs say no discussion, they shouldn't be discussing anything, you find out differently. Don't let the enemy use that to cause you to stop seeking help. Just find another source and chalk it up to experience. Pray for them and keep it moving because the bottom line is you want your relationship healed, whole, and well. And it don't allow the enemy to distract you by the detours and the different angles that he comes at you with, trying to keep you from getting that help that you need. Okay, now let me say this because we're at 53 minutes, I think. Now, Instagram will automatically disconnect after an hour. If we're not finished at an hour, then I'm going to immediately sign back on to go live again. Okay, so I just want you all to know that they have a limit, and I don't think we're gonna make it tonight. I try, but we're not gonna make it. Okay, so again, some of the things that one of the things on the list was exercising together. It's a win-win. It says both you and your spouse benefit from the exercise, and additionally the relationship benefits from the time together. We've referenced that a lot. Something that we do, we go to the gym. We might go to the gym together, or we might get there in separate cars, especially if we're going in the mornings and he's got to get out of there faster than I do to get back here and get ready to go to work. But we're doing it together. It's something we're both doing something for ourselves that neither one of us can do for each other, and we end up encouraging each other. Now, he's been dealing with symptoms for the past 3 weeks, now going into 4 weeks. And so when I go to the gym, it's always flying solo, or it's even been some sort of good, warm, fuzzy feeling on the inside when I get to the gym later at 10 or 11 o'clock, and he's been there, got there about 7 or 7:15, but just the fact that it's something we're doing together. The fact that he went pushed me to go, and vice versa. But it's nothing like exercising together. Go for that walk on the beach. I know I got a friend that's watching. I saw those pictures those selfies, that selfie you all took on the beach. Spending time walking, finding a park, finding just a place to go walk on the lakefront, and those of you who are in places where it's not a lot of water, just walking in the mall, exercising, walking together, spending time together. One of the other things on this list says sign up for a class together. Well, I think we did that, didn't we? Yep. But just the fact that you're doing something together. And there are a lot of free classes that you can take. Everything doesn't cost a lot of money. They have a lot of those Ivy League schools offer free courses that you can take at no cost. As far as spending time together, make sure you're talking about it. Sit down and talk about it. Discuss it. Which ones of us go to a job and don't have a clear understanding of what our goals are and what we got to do and what we need to fix and how we're going to fix it? Talk about it. Measure it, it says, is another thing. You want to get a different outcome, you got to see where you are now. And many times if you take an assessment and see how much time you're spending together, you may find out, oh wow, there is a deficit here. We need to really put some effort into spending more time together. this one is interesting, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, but there's a one tank trip book that you can get. It says in some communities where it has different things that you can do that have destinations that are within a half a tank of gas away. In other words, it takes you a tank of gas that day, at the most, to be able to get to that destination and back. And so spending time getting there, spending time at the place, and spending time coming home. It's a day trip, doesn't necessarily have to cost anything. If you have children, you might be able to get somebody to keep them for that day just so you can spend time together. It says take turns to organize a mystery adventure date once a month. The key is when it's your turn, you have to do the research, find out what he or she enjoys. It could be a weekend tour of a lighthouse, stargazing with the telescope, a simple picnic, but using your imagination. Just taking turns, just like what you were saying, putting thought into it. It could be the little things, the little things.
Mm-hmm.
You like this one?
Step out together down memory lane. Use different scrapbooks and looking through family history. Both sides retelling stories about family history, and of course that will also talk about the music. That we a lot of times what you do. Was it Saturday or Friday? Saturday. You went to the 60s and 70s music.
Oh yeah.
And spent some time. The whole day.
I had it on blast, loud. Sirius XM Soul Town.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just brings back those happy moments. And even when we talk about how we met and what we met and how he was trying to act like he wasn't trying to talk to me, trying to tell me he needed a job and had me give him my roommate's number.
I did need a job.
Yeah, right. But anyway, then she ended up asking me, why you won't go on a date with Willie Ralph Lott? Okay. Anyway, and here we are years later. We met in 1978, married in 79, and we still standing. So, but it's fun to go down memory lane. This one is very interesting, and I really think Instagram about to cut me off. But interview some elderly relatives. It said work up some questions together, record or video the dialogue, take photographs, and just spend time doing those types of things. And that's something that you can look back on later.
Or interview your parents if they're still alive.
Yes.
About what did Uncle John do or say, or Uncle Sally or Sue.
Uncle Sally. He was really interesting if he was Uncle Sally.
That.
I had an Aunt Sally.
You had Aunt Sally?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
My grandmother's sister. But and the other one was like interview each other.
Mm-hmm.
Have a list of questions and interview each other. Just spending time being creative. It's really not that deep. Mm-hmm. I have some other things. Oh, I lost Instagram just like I said. So let me get them back. Yes. Come on. Chicken connection. Okay, we're not okay. Come on back, Instagram. Come on back. But just think of things, just fun things, and especially if you're in a crisis situation, you've got some things going on that are stressors. Like I said, my cousin who was watching, I don't know if he's still watching now. Their son is going through some critical stuff right now. That can put some stress and some strain on your marriage. Also, it'll put some stress and strain on you mentally, emotionally, and physically. Mm-hmm. So, on purpose, taking time to spend time with each other, doing some things that are going to be pleasant, or taking time to discuss some things of, just pay attention to each other, that can take that stress and that strain off, so that it won't be an issue. But like I said, we have can't go into, for time's sake, a lot of them, but
you gonna give them those or you gonna post?
I'm gonna post it in the group, yeah. Okay. And what I'll do also on the different on the Facebook feeds, I'll put the information about the group so that you can go ahead and join the group if you want to, or at least because the group is open, you can go in and you can see what the posts are, and you can get the information. You don't have to necessarily join the group if you're not comfortable. But on this other list that we have, it says cultivate a common interest, because your spouse should be your best friend. And I know in a lot of cases your spouse is not your best friend. So let that be a goal. Find those common interests, begin to spend time with each other. We used to spend a lot of time out in the yard together doing things, and then I started being attacked with all these allergic things, but we believe in God that this spring is going to be different. I can get back out there and I can do some things because we were spending time together. It was a good way to get a workout in too, and then when we finished, at the end of the day, whatever the task was, we felt good about the fact that we had done it together, so even with physical constraints, many times the enemy will use those to cause you to cease doing what you were doing that was beneficial to your relationship and to your marriage and just to your general well-being. So cultivate that common interest. If you have different hobbies, find something you both enjoy, or you might want to look into something different to do. One of the things that we are going to do again, we used to get on our bicycles and ride, just on a regular basis. It will be 3 or 4 times a week, get on our bikes and ride a certain route, check out a different route, somewhere in close proximity, and just doing that together. Might come home huffing and puffing that first couple of weeks while we're trying to get used to it again, but it was always good. One of the other things that they list on this one is have a regular date night. We've already talked about that. Try new adventures together, saying we only live this life once. Try doing something different to force yourself out of the rut of normal day-to-day living. If you and your spouse would like to do something a little more daring, consider activities such as skydiving, scuba diving, mountain climbing. We'll pass on those, but we'll find something else.
You want to go skydiving?
I don't think so. Now this is a good one. Write love letters to one another and read them over a romantic dinner. And one of the other things that we've suggested, sticky notes or sticking love notes in the car where they'll find them, or in their lunch box, their lunch bag, sticking some in their wallet, somewhere where that they'll find them at some point in the day when they're away from you. Go on overnight getaways without the kids. Now, that's one of the things we're working on, because it's like I keep saying, just get me away for a weekend. Just get me away from a weekend. You will see a different wife then. But it's coming, isn't it?
That's right.
It's right. It's right. It's right. And it's not that the accommodations aren't there. It's just sometimes pushing to get out and just get out of the routine, because life happens and life can do some things. Set aside regular time to talk with one another without distractions. Sometimes go out and just get that tea or coffee.
Ice cream cone.
And just sit and just talk. Just enjoy each other. Read a book together and discuss it. I have a friend who is doing that with her husband. But then she said, but then he wants to give a whole dissertation on what the book says. But they are reading the book together and discussing it. Be accountable for one another, to one another. Ecclesiastes 4 verses 9 through 10 tells us 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them fails, the one will lift up his companion. That's the way it should be in a marriage. We should be working together and being accountable for each other. And one of the other things is to pray together. There's nothing like bonding and having words of prayer together, knowing that you're on the same team. And then if you can, find you might want to find a group, find a couples group. But a lot of us, with the schedules and the time constraints we have, it's just a challenge trying to do some of the things that we've read on this list. But be led, be open, rekindle hope if you're at a place where you're not sure anymore, you're tired. you know, if you've been married for a number of years, you've raised your children, you got grandchildren, and your grandchildren are even getting older, and you're wondering, okay, is this worth it? It's worth it. Rekindle that fire. And let that marriage be better than it's ever been. And those of you who have been married for a short period of time, or relatively short compared to our 38 years, then you be encouraged to know that the rough stuff is only going to be rough for a while. Learn as you go through it. Don't blame each other, and look forward to what's going to meet you on the other side. You get stronger, just like in your individual life. When you get stronger as you make it through each trial, as you make it through each challenge, as you make it over each hurdle. The same is true with your marriages. If you're working at it together, you know, you're better together. You're better, stronger. You know, you're stronger together, and then you come out better than ever on the other side. Amen. So, Reverend Dr. Willie Ralph Lott, is there anything you want to say in closing?
I think you hit the nail on the head. No, you summed it up. You don't think so?
Yeah, but I like them to hear you talk.
Yeah, we're out of time. We overtime.
We appreciate you all sticking with us, though, and thank you for coming back, Vicki. But we love you all. We appreciate you all, and for those of you who are watching on my regular Facebook page, you know, now that I've got this other device that I can hook up, I mean, we are working it over here. I need to take a picture of all these things, but we'll probably try to go live on a regular basis on that page when we're at the house. Now, otherwise, we'll be going live on my public figure page. So if you haven't gone and liked that public figure page of mine, it says Dr. Audrea Winbush Lott, go and do that, because that's the one where, you know, it'll be both of us and not just me that you're gonna get on that page. But he's not ready for him a page yet, because he don't want his wife to have to manage it for him like she doing his other page.
Alrighty.
Not your personal page, but the
right,
Psalm 139 right. Men go to the Psalm 139 man group and a page and join that, okay? Because I mean, we posted something on there today that's gonna be really good. It's really good, okay? So I don't see any more comments. No, thank you for tuning in, Vicki. Vivian, if you still here, I love you. You still be encouraged. You keep loving on Phil, all right? You can tell him we said hello, and we're going to believe, God, that what you're saying is registering and making sense to him. And what we are praying is that God continue to give you peace, continue to strengthen you, that you continue to be encouraged as you go, and that even as you spread the love and joy that's within you to others, that God multiplies it back to you in abundance. But you keep walking out those vows, because people are watching, and you are a walking, talking testimony, you know, and they can see that, they can read that, and they can see Jesus in you. And all right, Linnell, we'll get with you and see what that other broadcast is that you were trying to get to Linda. But I can give you the link. I'll post the link to the Marriage Journey Experience playlist on my YouTube channel, okay? All right. I guess all hearts and minds are clear. I see no more comments here. So, got you, Vivian. So we'll see you all next time. Hopefully we'll see some of you Wednesday night. It will probably be 10-ish instead of 9:30-ish as we slide on in here for church. But we're going to do the word plunge, a Bible study coming from Genesis 22. And I'm so excited because our books came today. Yay. We take the big books with the large print. But because our eyes are so young. Genesis 22. Verses 1 through 14, talking about the Lord will provide. And the golden text is, Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. Genesis 22:8. The Lord will provide, Genesis 22. So you all read that and be ready to hit us up right here on Wednesday night. And we love you. God bless you. And see you soon. Right, bye-bye. Good night. Rest well.